you have 10,000 cases that are on your docket that you're responsible for overseeing. We have this national backlog that we're dealing with. How did we end up in this kind of a situation where there's just this influx of cases that we have to handle?
I mean, I think there are at least two reasons. One, well, probably three. One, I don't think there are enough immigration judges, and it's even gotten worse because so many have been terminated recently. Two, it's just such a lengthy process in immigration court, and I think that there's definitely room for streamlining the process, but still allowing due process protections. And three, I think for sure the huge number of immigrants that were coming over the border, in the last however many years, certainly impacted the backlog, but the backlog was there even before that. I mean, when I was on the bench, I was hearing cases. Some of the cases I heard were 5 years old, 10 years old. And, I'm a practitioner in federal district court and the state courts, and everybody always complains about how long litigation takes, but in immigration court, things take even longer. And in part, it's because of the backlog.
There's these terminations, I think more than 70, I mean, dozens of judges across the country, some of whom are your former colleagues.
Yes.
Who have been affected by this. And yet at the same time, there's also some level of hiring. If you go online now, I mean, there's positions that are open across the country as well. What do you make of just the firing and hiring, if we can call it that, kind of approach right now, and what that means for how the court is operating?
To me, the terminations of the judges that I know make no sense at all. It doesn't make sense from the standpoint of, these were extremely high performing judges. Everybody that I worked with in the Chicago court, people decided a case based on the evidence that was before them and applying the law to the evidence. There was no, deciding cases based on your personal beliefs or political beliefs. That just was not going on. And everybody was very concerned about making sure each of the respondents was afforded due process and just hearing the evidence and applying the evidence to the law. And so after I resigned and I heard about the judges that were fired in Chicago, I mean, I just couldn't even believe it, because we're already overburdened. The court is already overburdened. These were judges that were extremely high performing, and there was no reason to terminate them other than, again, this is my opinion, other than, maybe a perception of what their beliefs are. I mean, the one judge I'm thinking of, she used to represent, she was in private practice representing respondents. Other judges that were not terminated were, former federal prosecutors. So again, I think that there could be, improper reasons behind the terminations, and it's only going to exacerbate the situation of having, even more backlogged courts.
When you have changing administrations, how much does that affect the work that an immigration judge does? Because it is under, the executive branch, if you will.
I was just surprised by the number of kind of like memos that were coming out, like guidance memos, not telling us how to rule on particular cases, but just kind of weighing in, written in a tone that you could kind of read between the lines what was being said. Even the way that the government attorneys who appeared in front of us, prior to the Trump administration, it appeared to me that they had a lot more discretion in how to prosecute cases. And then after the change of administration, it appeared to me that they no longer had the same level of discretion. If you think about any type of prosecution, you can think about it as a federal prosecutor, as a state, a state's attorney, or going after criminals. Anytime you're bringing prosecutions against individuals, there are limited resources. So you're not prosecutors and even police, there's police discretion on whether to arrest someone. If there's some minor violation, the police don't arrest every single person because there's not the capacity to do that. And, when I started on the bench, sometimes the Department of Homeland Security attorneys would say, we're going to exercise prosecutorial discretion and dismiss this case. So even though the person might, the government was claiming they were eligible for removal or deportation, they might decide like, okay, this person doesn't pose any threat. They, are working, they're paying taxes, and it's just not worth our resources to pursue this one. We're going to focus on other individuals instead. And so that was going on before the Trump administration came into office. And then as soon as that happened, the government attorneys specifically said they're no longer allowed to do that. So that was, a very dramatic change right away.
Based on your experience and the rapport that you have with your colleagues who, are currently immigration judges or formerly, immigration judges, is there a feeling that the current administration is removing discretion from judges to do what they need to do according to the law?
I don't think that any of the judges that I worked with are going to allow themselves to be told what to do. And I think they will continue to apply the law and uphold due process. I think where the administration is going to make the most headway in its efforts are by keeping cases out of immigration court by using, expanded expedited removal, trying to use tactics that don't even allow the respondents to have their day in court. And that to me is a bigger concern to me. And number two is firing judges that for political and or other unlawful reasons, and then appointing people that will just, do what he wants them to do.